Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sci-Fi Chronicles, where me and the Mega Geek are going to be talking Doctor Who this evening. How you doing, mate? You all right?
All right.
Yeah, he's going to
Doctor
be talking about
Bloody
his
Pooh.
favorite subject. That he loves it. Everybody, he adores it.
Yeah, new Who and old Who I
Yeah,
adore, but not this crap. Anyway,
it's
what are we
wild,
going to
man.
talk
It's
about?
wild.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's go straight into it. So tonight, mate, I'll read it out. An article broke, essentially, well, from the Sun and the Mirror, both effectively saying that David Tennant is also returning with Billie Piper for one special, for a Doctor Who
Why?
special. Yeah, exactly that.
Why?
So I'll read the article and we'll get into it. But uh, so here we go. So Doctor Who fans may be in for another huge surprise, as another fan favourite is rumoured to be in talks to return to the series for a one off episode. Fans are still recovering from the news of Billie Piper's return, and now show legend David Tennant has been tipped to reunite with her on screen for one last hurrah. David, who played the role of the Doctor between 2005 to 2010, is rumoured to be in talks to star in a one off special with co star Billie. The actress previously appeared as Rose Tyler, companion to the Doctor between 2005 and 2006. The pair recently reunited for the BBC special Doctor Who Unleashed 20 Years in Wales, where they reflected on their time together. In a sneak preview, Billy and David gushed over how much fun they had had on set. Now it looks like they could be having even more fun by reuniting for a special anniversary episode. Can I just say, I don't know if you saw that image there, that there was a woman with a big belly dancing. I really hope
Yeah.
that's not the next Doctor, mate.
Yeah. I hope not.
Yeah, the BBC brought back Doctor Who in 2005, and there is talk about a possible one-off project to celebrate the 20th anniversary. David and Billy were a hugely popular partnership, and he brought in the golden age of Doctor Who, a source told The Sun. With the anniversary of the reboot this year, there have been some ideas floated about the idea of maybe bringing David and Billy back together for one last hurrah. And
Hurrah.
hurrah indeed. So I'm not going to go into the rest of it because it just sort of recycles old stuff. But thoughts on that, mate?
It's a bad idea. Nobody cares about Doctor Who. David Tennant is for this crap, the trans rubbish and all that nonsense. And if Russell T is still involved and he's writing it, it's going to be rubbish. David Tennant looks too old. He looks really old now. He doesn't look right, does he? When he's the Doctor.
No, I think when they did all that by generation nonsense in the 60th, I thought, and I said it at the time, I could see it happening because it's Russell T Davies' get out of jail card for his diverse Doctor Who, which has clearly
Mm.
failed now. It's almost like, oh, well, we can reset and bring Tennant in. The trouble you've got now is Tennant's star has fallen so far now. I don't think it's going to have the pull that they think it will. And again,
Well,
it's
his,
diminishing
his
returns, isn't it? You know,
well his
going
his
back
star
to
hasn't fallen as an actor because he still gets jobs, but it has fallen as Doctor
quiz
Who,
shows.
as the doc as the Doctor. And if he's the Doctor again, it's not going to pull anyone in because the fans are really furious of his take of this other Doctor and how he was being told off by the women and told off that he didn't get the thingy right, whatever, with that stupid alien and all that nonsense. So if if BBC's listening, this is not going to help. It's not going to bring back the fans. David Tennant Doctor is not popular anymore because you destroyed him when you brought him back in the 60s. Billie Piper, whatever, she's not popular yet either. So I don't understand the logic behind this. If it's
Yeah,
true, because it's the Daily Mirror. Do you know what I mean?
exactly. And it's also the Sun that are running with it as well. And
Also, the Sun.
yeah, and the Mirror before, they've had quite good hit rates with regards to Doctor Who. But I do think, like you say, it's a rumor at the moment, but I could see RTD doing this, as this is desperate attempt to try and salvage what he's done to his iteration of Doctor Who. This, if it was a new producer and a new production team, I might be a bit more optimistic of a one-off and then into actually a proper Doctor coming along. But I just can't see it. It's another gimmick from RTD and Co. And I think it's gonna damage the show even more, really. And again, if it does happen, we've talked about it before, mate, about the BBC. They learn all the wrong lessons, don't they? You know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what can you say about this article? This article is, if it's true, it's a stupid idea. If Davies is listening from the BBC, it's a stupid idea. The fans don't like these. Well, they don't like David Tennant anymore because he dissed the Doctor, didn't he? In the last one, he dissed it.
Yeah.
So basically, think of something else if you want to bring back the Doctor.
Yeah,
David
absolutely.
Tennant. David Tennant's not going to pull anyone in
Well,
at all.
it's first of all, hi Christy, good to see you. No, she's not a Scouser. She's from Swindon originally. But you know, the way Doctor Who's going at the moment, I wouldn't be surprised if they have her stood in the TARDIS singing all her pop songs for an hour, you know, as a Christmas special. You know, they've done far worse over the last 2 years, haven't they?
What they have to do is they have to retcon the retcon if they're going to
Yep,
bring back the Doctor. They have to basically make the Doctor return as a white male.
yep,
And when they do bring him back, make sure there's no women bosses trying to boss him around because that's not what the Doctor is all about, right? It doesn't mean to say that we should neglect diversity because, again, I'm a big believer in diversity. You have all you have the huge scope there with Doctor. You've got Romana, who's a female Time
yep,
Lord. You can do a series on that. You can give the Doctor any kind of companion, it doesn't matter what race or nationality it is. But my question is, why destroy the canon and why turn the Doctor into something that he's not? If they
yep.
carry on like this, nobody will be watching Doctor Who, and there is no such thing as a new audience. We are the audience. The fans are the audience. It's point
Yeah.
ignore them.
Well, they also had
Don't care.
tonight. They had a 20th anniversary celebration, mate, where they talked about 20 years of Doctor Who in Wales. You know, I don't know why they had to
Really?
drop Wales as on there, but you know, it should have just been 20 years of Doctor Who. But
No, it was 20
the
years of Doctor Who shooting in Wales, I think, isn't it? Is that the thing?
wow, it was an anniversary of 20 years of New Who, basically.
I
But
see.
they were, you know, they were, you know, and I'm paraphrasing here, but you know, it was the usual sort of they're all patting themselves on the back. Obviously, there was no Christopher Eccleston, which you wouldn't expect to be. There was no Capaldi, surprise, surprise, because he wouldn't have wanted to be involved with it after the way
Yeah.
they treated him allegedly. And then you've got obviously David Tennant and Billie Piper sat together, and it's all great smiles. Um, and then you've got Jodie Whittaker. You know, you've got a comment from Shooty Gatwa, you know, pre-recorded, and then you've got Julie Gardner and Russell T Davies talking about it. But the main thing that I was chuckling about as it was going along is how they talk about this wonderful show that, you know, you can reinvent it essentially into very different forms, but essentially it still remains the same. It's like, no,
Bollocks.
no, no. It's absolute rubbish, isn't it? You know, it's not you've tried to reshape it into something so much that you've actually snapped it now. You know,
Yeah.
that's where we are with it. And that's why you're
Well,
now talking about potential rumored gimmicks of Billy and
well,
David coming back.
that's what they've done. Again, I would say this: they have to retcon the retcon if they want the real fans to come back. It's not rocket science. If you want the fans to come back, you have to respect the fans and give them what they want. They
Yeah,
don't want to see a gay doctor kissing a guy wearing a dress, and there's musical segments in Doctor Who. We don't want to see that. We don't want to see any drag queens as the villains. We just
right.
want Doctor Who back. Basically,
Do
that's
you,
what we want.
do you know what, with the silliness now where that we're at in the circus of Billy and David coming back together to do a special, if I was a serious production team coming in, I
Mm.
would say, right, okay, instead of Billy and David Tennant, let's go cap in hand to Capaldi. Let's go cap in hand to Christopher Eccleston. Let's try and strike a deal with them, and let's say, look, we need to bring in a new doctor, but the previous production team have made such a mess of this. We need something to fill the gap while we do that. And I would say, right, do a Capaldi and an Eccleston special. That would get more people watching than Billy and David watching. I
Yeah,
will. I'll put that
unfortunately,
out there.
unfortunately, that's not what they are about. Basically, they're hiding behind this DEI and
Yeah,
this stupid LGB rubbish. I
yeah,
mean, look, I've got. I mean, I have a. Actually, I have a lot of gay friends. Okay, and they just hate Doctor Who. They hate it. They
yeah.
hate it with a passion, because this is not Doctor Who, right? Doctor Who was never about sexuality. Doctor Who was never about ooming kids. I can't say that word. And Doctor Who was never about him kissing men. It was
No,
never this stuff, right? And also,
absolutely right.
Doctor Who's scripts were logical to a point where you understood what was going on in the plot. This, because I haven't seen any of these episodes, but what people tell me is absolute crap, absolute
Yeah,
rubbish.
yeah. I mirror everything you're saying there. I think Doctor Who. I'm not overly picky. All I want is an eccentric, asexual male of his species, a Time Lord traveling through the universe, through time and space, having adventures, looking forward to the joy of each adventure, and then fighting the monsters and the villains that he pops up against every single week. That's not too much to ask, you know. It's I don't want to see, like you. I don't want to see a doctor in a skirt on a dance floor doing a spin. I want to see a doctor running down a hallway with a Dalek chasing him or a Cyberman stomping down the hallway. That's what I want, and that's what the majority of people want. If you can't do that, then it's time to pack it up, really. You know.
Their fix is to try and get David Tennant back, but they've already done that. They really did it, and it didn't work. So, and also, right, isn't Shooty upset that out of all the doctors, right, in the history of Doctor Who, he is the one that people actually, the majority of fans don't like, even more so than you know what I'm going to say, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I know exactly what you're going to say. It's almost like a telepathic link between us, mate.
Even more so than McCoy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so even more so than McCoy. I mean, McCoy, towards the ending, he got better as the Doctor. But oh my God, I remember when he first started, many of my fans just gave in and said, I'm not watching it anymore. But
Yeah.
this version
I,
of the Doctor is just ridiculously bad.
it's not the Doctor. It's like,
No.
you know, you'd be seeing a horde of people being exterminated in the streets by Autons, and he'd be reading Pride magazine, and saying, I'm too busy. That's where we are now. That's how stupid it's got. And
How ludicrous as well, isn't it? It's ludicrous. Look,
mad. It's like an
if I
alternate
tell
reality we've
someone,
slipped into. Yeah.
if I told someone no, going back even further, 30 years ago, that there'll be something in Doctor Who where somebody gets a big hammer and they hit the TARDIS and it turns into another TARDIS, they'll think I'm crazy.
I mean,
And it happened.
this is the thing, when you talk about classic Doctor Who, they had strange things that happened, and they had paranormal things that happened, but it was based around a scientific reason for what it's happened. I mean, I give the example about, the fantastic Pertwee story, Supernatural, the Daemons in the village. Fantastic story, but it's based on science. It's an alien race
Yeah.
that people believe is a demon and the devil, and it is wonderful stuff. Now, like you say, you've got a mallet that creates a second TARDIS, and all
And they're
kinds of,
singing.
yeah, yeah.
And they're
I
singing.
mean, but this is the thing as well, isn't it? You know, it's these writers now, they can't write sci-fi. They're out of ideas, but they go back to soap elements. But also, they seem to that one of their templates also seems to always be Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You know, and they can't do it as well as Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You know, where they do the the musical he did with Whedon did once more with Feeling. You know, what was it, over 20 years ago? That's what they're trying to do, and Star Trek tried that as well, and it just comes across as cheap and tacky. It worked in Buffy. These things won't work in Doctor Who. It's a
Look, there's a
completely
big
different show.
there's a connection, isn't there, with Star Trek when they did the musical version. It's because of the gay element that was in Star Trek. And it's the same thing with Doctor Who. It's the gay element that's in Doctor Who. So that's why there was a musical element in there, because gay people love, I'm guessing now, musical things in TV shows. Listen, right? They need to get rid of these two eras, the Jodie
Yep.
era and the Silly Gatwick era. They need to get rid of it, and they need to retcon that stuff, because the fans will not come back if you don't do it. You got 1 million and a bit watching in the last 3 episodes, right? It will stay that way if you bring back Russell T, and you
Yep.
bring back David Tennant and Billie Piper, right? Everybody's putting up a front, but everybody knows. I'm telling you, if Ncuti Gatwa, right, is really upset, he must be. If he isn't upset, that means he didn't care about Doctor Who at all. Would anyone who plays the Doctor and had doubt and exact those ratings and
Yeah.
was given those crappy scripts, anyone who really cares about Doctor would be really upset. And I know Peter Bacaldi was upset, and the scripts that he got, especially
Yep.
with the woke stuff in it. But obviously, he's a professional.
He's
He
a pro,
won't
and
say it. Yeah, and it's not. He didn't walk. He got booted out. He got
yeah.
booted out because they wanted a female Doctor. So there you
And
go.
look how that worked out. You know,
Exactly.
the rest is
Exactly.
history. I mean, the Daleks in the chat is basically, even the Daleks are agreeing now. The Daleks believe the new Doctor should be a young and upcoming actor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
No.
there
No. I
you go.
totally agree. Look,
If you've
because
got the Daleks saying that, then you know you're on the wrong track as a production team, aren't you? You know.
look, you got okay, so Disney's pulled out, and if BBC doesn't find another partner, they're going to have to do it themselves. So that means money's going to be low. So yeah, I agree with Dalek, right? If the money's low and you can't afford someone like Tom Ellis or Matthew Goody, or of those caliber, then you're going to have to find someone new, like they found Matt Smith, because he was
Yeah,
new. Nobody knew who he was. So just got
that's it.
get the right actor for the role instead of
Yep.
getting someone because of their color and their sexuality, which is what they did with Ncuti.
Yep.
Ncuti, it didn't matter what anyone said to me. The first time I saw a picture, the first time I saw him open his mouth, he was not right for the Doctor. Right. There was that advert. We was on the space Type 40.
Yeah.
When we heard the news had broke, Dan showed this advert where he was advertising a car or something like that. And he didn't have a Scottish accent. He was talking. I thought, okay, if he's like that, then yeah, maybe he'll be good. But little did we know what he was going to really be like.
Well, my heart dropped when they were at what was it, BAFTA, him and Russell T Davies, and they were interviewed, and it was the straight away, it was he said, right, we want to, the main thing is about inclusion. And I thought, oh gosh, here we go. Now we know what we're getting in the next few series, and lo and behold, that's exactly what we got. I mean, Stay Safe in the chat. Good to see you, mate. Timeless Children needs to go, but rest of Jodie's era can just be ignored. I disagree on that, mate. It needs to go all of Jodie's era onwards. They need to basically. I'm in the mindset. I've heard a lot of people say, right, they just need to do a reboot from the first Doctor all over again, just have it as a Doctor. I don't agree with that, because my view is I will not allow these people to destroy 60 plus years of continuity and history that's been built up by
Absolutely.
people doing that. It needs to just go back to Capaldi and start from there, and that's it. But the trouble is, in the current climate, you need a producer to come in with balls of steel, who's basically saying, "I'm doing it this way. If you're not going to allow me to do it this way, I'm not taking the job." And that's what we need at the moment
That's me.
to get it back on track. That's you.
That's me.
Well, he says
I'll
that,
do the
but then
job.
he'll go in, and then within about
That's
30 minutes,
that's
he'll be
right.
driving a bright pink Jaguar.
That's right. I'll sell my soul.
Yeah.
But you know what? Right? Seriously, you're right, John. Because I've heard the rabbi say this. Oh, they should start from the beginning. No, no. That means they
Yeah.
would win if they do
Yeah.
that. They would win because the people that were in charge at the BBC, especially people that charge of Doctor Who, and the people that put this crap in Doctor Who, they want to destroy. Haven't you not noticed that these? I hate to say this because I don't believe in left and right. These left wing, gay,
Yeah.
DEI nonsense. All they do is destroy, and
They
it's
do.
not like they're.
They
It's not
can't
like they're
create something
creating.
fresh.
It's not like they're creating something good
No.
to house what they believe in. No, because they don't want to. What they want to do is they want to jump on the train wherever they're going. They want to jump, right, without
Yeah.
doing the work. Without doing the work. They just literally want to jump on it and then try and bend it their way and then destroy it
Yeah.
when it doesn't go their way.
Exactly right. It's either we co-opt it to make it our own, or if we can't, we burn it to the ground.
That's
That's
right.
their mindset.
And that's what they did with Doctor Who. They burnt
Yep.
it. They burnt it to the ground, and with the ashes, they're pissing on it now. That's what
Yep.
they're doing. And if they bring back David Tennant, that means they're literally taking the ashes and pouring it over their head and dancing around. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's what it would be
Yeah,
doing.
yeah, exactly.
They bring back David Tennant.
I was going to say to you, mate, I don't know when this 20th anniversary was recorded, but he does, the presenter at it towards the end does say, and obviously during our conversations with Billie when we recorded this, we didn't know that she was going to be cast coming back to Doctor Who, but she did let a couple of things slip. So she did some Freudian slips during the recording. I don't know when it was recorded. I'm guessing it was probably earlier in the year, but this strikes me as this was a PR exercise to put out straight after the damage that had been done to try and save face, to put it
No,
out a week later.
they know the damage that they've done, but what they're doing is
I think it's
ignoring it.
containment.
And this is what I don't think it's containment. What they say, it's another finger to the fans saying that, yeah, we're not even going to acknowledge the damage that we've done to Doctor Who. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's saying the last 3 episodes were absolute rubbish, the worst TV ever made in the history of TV. But yet the BBC's not mentioning it. A couple of people on radio, BBC Radio, were saying, yeah, it's woke as hell and stuff like that,
Yeah.
which is a good thing. People know it's woke as hell, and people know this shouldn't be happening to a show that's beloved by millions, even billions around the world. Yeah. They know this shouldn't be happening.
I think you're right,
the BBC's putting out crap like this, pretending nothing to see here. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing to see here. Nothing really happened. We're all good.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're right, mate. And I think for me, with this whole, Doctor Who era, the one thing I would say is where we're 2 or 3 years ahead of the time with this whole woke ideology movement. 2 or 3 years ago, the papers wouldn't even be saying negative things about the production. So we've moved on to that point where now the mainstream media are actually starting to turn on these projects and actually saying,
because money.
Exactly. And used to say, well, hang on a minute, we love this. They spin it anyway, even if it was rubbish. But now they're actually turning the other way and they're saying, you know what, this stuff is awful. We're actually going to write, what we should have written a few years ago about it. And I think you're in a downward spiral as a production where it's very difficult to get out of that spiral now because the PR is so negative. And that's been the same since Jodie Whittaker. You know, it's been going down and down and down, and more people have been turning off. You know, they can spin it as much as they want as a production team, but it's not gonna fly, is it? Um,
No, no,
Here we go.
you don't.
Well, I wouldn't say he's behaved. He's ready to go AWOL any second. He's gonna throw something, I bet you.
No,
Good
look,
to see
look,
you.
look. Seriously.
Yeah, he
Seriously.
gets he
No,
gets a can of Coke and a curly whirly. That's it. I'm not raising it.
look, okay, right. So Doctor Who needs to be retconned now, right? If they care about the fans, they would actually retcon this crap and they would bring back Doctor Who properly with a white male playing. There's nothing wrong with a white male playing the Doctor. And there's nothing wrong with a woman playing the Doctor either, or a black man. But what they
Yeah,
did with that was absolutely disastrous. They
yeah,
could have when they hired Jodie, they could have done it properly. That Jodie could have been quite, dressed quite feminine. All the rubbish about, I'm an upgrade and all that nonsense could have just been taken out the show. They could have done it properly, concentrate on the monsters, concentrate on the stories, but they didn't. They pushed this crap agenda,
yeah,
therefore destroying the story, right? And they could have had their cake and eat it, but they didn't. They decided to do this. So my theory is right. They're too stupid to create their own shows. All they want to do is jump on the bandwagon of something that's successful. And then
yeah.
when it doesn't go their way, they literally destroy it. Did you see what Russell T did with the last few episodes of Shooty Who? I rest my case.
Dumpster fire, absolute dumpster fire. And I think that what you were saying there about these you know these liberal wokies, and they're pushing this agenda. Well, if you're going to push that agenda, you've got to set yourself a high bar. Your writing has got to be your A game. It's got to be top drawer stuff if you want to break through. But all that they've done for the last 10 years is they've driven more and more people away from their rubbish writing and their productions. And that will continue. I mean, 11th Doctor here is saying, I do care about past Doctors. Just re air past series on TV or add them to Disney Plus like Capaldi and Smith's era. Re-aired on TV would be a much better thing to do than messing with canon. Now, I think what they should do, and this is in the UK and worldwide, they should do something like that where, yes, you've got the Hooniverse app, but I'm talking about, things like in the UK where you've got your BBC Threes and BBC Fours. They should start broadcasting some more of the classic stuff. Get people enjoying that stuff. Try and, before you even talk about rumors and bringing people back, you've got to try and heal people by letting them enjoy the good stuff first. Then you've also got to announce that Russell T Davies and his cronies are leaving the production, because nothing's going to change if they're still involved. That's the problem with it. And I would also say as well, Mr. Brown Alliance is here. Good to see you, my friend. If you haven't already, subscribe and like his channel. He's putting out good stuff. And Mr. Ian Diaz, the mega geek, is on there regularly as well, aren't you? Because he
No,
just goes
no,
everywhere he does. He's a
no, it's not
crazy.
me. It's not me. It's not me. Seriously
Yeah,
though, listen, right? If you have, when have you ever seen a show where basically the fans hate the lead character and the response in the writing is, "I am the best. I was the best Doctor, wasn't I?" And the girl, the female Doctor that was hated the most says, "Yeah, you were the best
yeah.
male Doctor." But I was the best Doctor. When have you? If that is not sticking your finger up to the fans that don't like this stuff, I don't know what is. Come on,
But
it's so obvious what they're doing.
it's you're
Obvious.
right, 100%. But you know what? It also cements as well. They know how awful those doctors are, and how awful that people think of those doctors. Because if that wasn't the case, they wouldn't have to put
Yeah, yeah.
those words into the episode. It's because they know that they failed massively on their
Okay, let's
virtue
talk about
signaling exercise.
Let's talk about episodes, right? How stupid the writing is. So I never saw these episodes, but I have seen loads of clips on YouTube. And so basically it goes, this woman, where did she come from? Nobody knows. Was on a planet, discovered something, then went in there and saw a little black girl, and then she fell
Yeah.
off a cliff. She changed into somebody else, and she was fascinated. So she takes her back to her lab and kills her over and over again. Now, I'm sorry, but how stupid writing is that? Didn't anyone question it when they were at the
Oh,
script
yeah.
meeting? No one?
Do you know what? Do you know what? When I saw that, and I thought,
What the
and
hell?
you know where you go past anger and you're just laughing at how ridiculous it is, where they're literally they've got a scene where every child is regenerating into every diverse person
Yeah,
on the planet,
yeah.
and I'm like, this is just this just is in terminal decline now. There is no coming back from this at all. It's complete destruction.
Yeah, but the question I want to ask everybody in the chat is, could you just imagine you have a table full of writers, you're the showrunner. You're like, right, lads, what have you got for me? Well, we got this lady that she's on a planet. What planet? That doesn't matter. She finds a thing. What thing? That doesn't matter. What's the little black girl doing there? I don't know. Oh, that doesn't matter. She gets chucked off a cliff. How? Why? That doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? That's how it went. I
Yeah.
mean, how
Uh,
stupid. It's like a 5-year-old wrote this, for God's
oh,
sakes.
totally. And let's talk about, the clips me and you have seen from the finale.
Gold.
You've got giant
Do we have to?
you've got giant bone dinosaurs that are attacking a unit building where Kate Lethbridge Stewart turns the building skyscraper by a pirate's wheel to shoot at them. Instead of just logically a
Yeah.
military organization putting gun turrets on every side of it, they've got a pirate's wheel to turn it. Then also you've got a, a classic character from the series, Omega, who and there's a video coming from me, by the way, about the proper Omega, about how he basically was a stellar engineer, and he was the one that gave the Time Lords, the Gallifreyans, Time Lord ability, time travel technology by engineering a black hole. Got sucked into an antimatter universe, and he lost his form. Then all of a sudden, he's come back in Russell T Davies' era as a skeleton with a fat ass that can't get through a door. So, you know, how did that happen? And you know, I feel sorry for Omega as a skeleton because no matter how much weight you try and shift, you just can't get it away from the arse area,
It's
can you?
it's it doesn't matter syndrome. That's what it is. Oh,
Yeah.
so
Three minutes on air, apparently.
what's that creature called that was sitting on top of the TARDIS for so many years? What's it called again?
Oh, Sutek that
Sutek,
became a
right?
dog.
All right. So Sutek. Oh, it's Sutek. It's been sitting on the TARDIS for so long. So why has it been sitting on the TARDIS? How comes nobody see it? That doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? That's how it went at the script meeting.
Yeah,
Everything they've
yeah,
done.
yeah.
Oh,
Well,
the TARDIS comes flying into what is it? The base comes flying,
oh,
skids across the floor. Wait a sec, doesn't the TARDIS materialize into places? Why does it come? That doesn't matter. Let's do it. Do you know what I mean? That's
yeah.
how stupid the whole show's become. It's
Well,
become stupid,
it's like we said before,
and they're still
you build
hiring these people.
yeah, and you build a Bible of what you don't alter. The TARDIS is one thing you don't alter, and what it does. It for me, arguably, it's the best ship in any sci-fi show because it's bigger on the inside than on the outside. Materializes and dematerializes. That's it. Great. I don't
No, it
want it to be a
doesn't.
spaceship. Yeah, it does.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It skids in. It flies
No,
in.
no, no,
It
no,
almost
no.
kills
In that,
everybody.
Doctor Who does,
Oh, you're
but
talking about
in
Doctor Who?
yeah, but in RTD Who it does that.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
So not only that, I'm gonna add to what you've just said. Not
Yeah,
only does the TARDIS do that, but UNIT have got desks set up on that floor, and they've actually got a code alert
exactly.
for when the
Yeah,
TARDIS is doing that. So it's like,
yeah.
okay, code red, everybody. TARDIS impact incoming. So hang on a minute. So you're going to put desks in an area where people can get killed by a ramming TARDIS, and then you get a guy come out and go, "Give me the loving." You know, I'd knock him flat out if he did something like that. I think as Thomas has said here, the Timeless Child would work with the Master more than the Doctor. Also, to fix the fugitive Doctor, you make them a parallel Doctor variant that kills the uses. It's a cool concept.
It doesn't matter what idea we have to retcon it. We
They're
can
not going
retcon it.
to.
But they're not going to, right?
No.
Here's another one, right? So the Doctor, the Doctor climbs onto this flying boat, right? And they talk rope. What? They talk rope. Okay, yeah, that's fine. And he eats babies. What? But wouldn't that be scary for the kids? No, he eats babies. And they start singing. Wait a moment. This is not Doctor Who. This is Fame, right? You're talking about Fame. No, we're talking about Doctor Who. They're singing. They're singing now. Okay, all right. That's how stupid it is.
I mean, but you know, from what
sing.
But I mean, exactly, and it's like, you know, but then he has the audacity during this 20th anniversary thing to this is RTD, to basically say he's been a massive Doctor Who fan since he was 3 years old.
Not anymore.
But I'm sorry, exactly. I'm sorry if I was asked to produce Doctor Who and I did that to it, I couldn't call myself a Doctor Who fan, because you've altered what is Doctor Who to fill it with your ideology. That was the primary reason for these 2 seasons. It wasn't to do with, let's make a cool science fiction show called Doctor Who. It was to push your message. That was it. And you've admitted to that. You know, you've made it clear, RTD, that that's what you're doing. So why are we surprised when we see viewing figures drop and drop and drop?
We can talk about this till the cows come home, till the sun comes
and
up.
We will.
Right? right. We can talk about this forever and ever and ever, right? But as a Doctor Who fan, all I can say to every one of you watching, which is 18 people, stop watching Shooty Who. Stop watching Russell T's Doctor Who. Every time you watch it, you're adding to the million whatever bit. What I want is nobody watching it when they release it, or 10,000 watching it. That's what I want, and I reckon everyone should step back now, because this is not Doctor Who. No, I've already started. I started when Jodie started. I think it was the second season. I had enough, and that's when I stopped watching Doctor Who. And then somebody coaxed me in watching the Christmas special. Actually, no, the David Tennant specials, which were absolute rubbish, and then the Shooty one, and that's where I stopped. Ultimately, I will not give any thought at any time of day for this crap, because it's not Doctor Who.
No,
so there you go.
No, it's a low budget, you know, brand Doctor Who now. You know, it's like Timu. What is it? Timu Doctor Who now. You get a low budget version.
This Disney, it looks very expensive.
Well, where did that money go? I mean, again, I feel sorry also for the people in the production that have done good work on it, and their heads must sink when, you know, RTD walks down to them and goes, "Oh, right, okay. So this is what I want you to create in CGI today." "Oh yeah, what's that?" "A skeleton with a fat ass." And they're like, "Really? I went to uni for this. I've done a course. You want me to draw a fat ass on a skeleton that can't get through a door? Thanks very much for that." Yeah,
I know. There's a lot of people that like the Sylvester McCoy era and the Colin Baker era and stuff like that. But it just goes to show, Russell T, right? Instead of picking someone like Fraser Hines, which is where he's still alive, instead of picking him, they pick Mel. Mel, for God's sakes, Mel from Doctor Who. What the hell? Do you know what I mean? Nobody liked her. I don't know anyone that liked her. I didn't like her when she was teamed up with. She was acting like she was on stage, for God's sakes. Why did he pick? Because it's all to do with the gay stuff. That's what it's all to do with.
Yeah, so, and I you know, and we got, you know, the people that are still watching got lucky, because apparently the rumors were that if Shooty hadn't have gone, there was going to be a dance floor scene at the end, and Susan Caroline Ford was going to come back with Poppy, the black child of the Doctor, and then she was going to walk off with Poppy and go, "Come on, Mum," you know, and that would have just again just been a sticking it to the fans moment. That the guy is not making it to give people joy anymore, and this production are not making it to give joy. They're doing it to antagonize people that adore this wonderful show that started in '63 and finished at the end of Capaldi.
You
But
can't get
they're also doing
antagonized
it
if
for
you're not
ideology.
watching. You can't get
Yeah,
antagonized if you're not watching. Don't watch. I've
yeah.
been watching. I find it
So
fun when people tell me it's bad.
yeah,
It's
because
oh, good.
you're emotionally disconnected from it now.
Yeah,
That's where you are.
don't care. I don't care.
Yeah,
And every time I see a picture of Shooty on Facebook or X, I literally scroll up or block it. I don't want to
yeah,
see that guy because that guy wrecked Doctor Who. Russell T, don't want to see his face. Good luck to them. You know, I think Russell T's quite talented writer, but he should really get off of all this crap that he's putting in his writing now and get back to basics. Get back to formula, as they say in
yeah.
Spider-Man 1.
But again, this is the trouble. You know, Christie's Corner sort of said, "Why are they doing this?" And again, it's the trouble you've got.
Ideology.
Yeah, it's ideology, and it's also the fact that the BBC, a lot of people at the BBC think along those lines now. So, you know, even if it's doing bad on ratings, the BBC would still continue it. So that's why I could see them doing another special. I can actually see it being commissioned because they clearly don't see that RTD can do any wrong. And yet everything that's being hit at them left, right, and center is clearly showing that it's a failed IP.
Whoever was in charge of Doctor Who, right? Even when Russell T left, right? I think it was Moffat. Seriously, had got it wrong. Why would you commission a show called Class when Paul McGann is out there? Why would you do that? Are you stupid? Are you?
Yeah,
you must
you're
be,
right.
You must be, right?
Do you know
ratings?
You remember when the 50th anniversary came around and we had that?
Yeah.
I mean, you're not a fan of it, but I loved it. It was Night of the Doctor.
I love the 50th.
Oh yeah,
No,
okay.
no, I hate.
Yeah,
I
you
hated Night
hated
of the Doctor.
Doctor. See, we've had this conversation many a time, but I loved it. But having McGann back on screen, we're not going down that road tonight.
It wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. Seriously, when he came back, I was joyful.
We needed more.
Then I watched the episode. I was like, this is shit. Right, the TARDIS crashes and smashes into a million bits, and he's still there from space. There'd be nothing left of him.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I think for me, though, and we've talked about this before, McGann, within 15 seconds of being in that episode, if that, he's the Doctor. As soon as he walks on onto the bridge of that ship, and at the time there were a lot. They did, and at the time there were a lot of rumors going that the BBC were amazed at how successful that minisode had been, and they were talking about doing something. And they didn't, and what we got in the end was, sadly, McGann sat as a part of Jodie's mind at the end of her season, when she was about to regenerate. And it was, again, everything that you want to happen is you always get a really poor, inferior version by this lot, and that's never going to change.
Do you know what? Right, Paul McGann deserved better. Right,
he did.
So let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. Right, so the 50th comes along, and Moff is all excited. Everybody's excited and stuff. And then suddenly Moff goes, "Wait a sec, what happened to the Paul McGann Doctor?" And they're standing there and they're going, "Oh shit, we forgot about him. Quick, is there anything left?
Yeah.
So we can do a quick little thing about him. We include him in the because it doesn't make any sense if he's not included in there."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, okay." And then they made it right, and that is not good enough. So
No,
basically, what should have happened was that Chris Eccleston said no to the 50th. What is the
should have been
logical
McGann.
thing to do? Is to go to McGann. But they didn't want to go to McGann, did they? And what's this
No,
stupid excuse about John Hurt's a big movie star? John Hurt is a film star. He's not a movie star. If John Hurt was walking down the road, right, 9 times out of 10 people wouldn't even recognize him. If you're talking about Burt
yeah,
Reynolds or Brad Pitt or George Clooney, these people are bona fide movie stars, right? There was no reason to put even though I liked the 50th, don't get me wrong, there was no reason to put him in the 50th. It should have been Paul McGann. It should have been Paul McGann. But
I think
they forgot he existed.
I
That was
think
the
you're
problem.
right. And I think you're right. And I think, I remember the statement Moffat put out, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said he couldn't see McGann's Eighth Doctor as fighting the Time War. And I thought that's absolute rubbish.
Rubbish,
McGann could
rubbish.
easily fight the Time War. Don't get me
Because
wrong. John Hurt was fantastic in it. Don't get
yeah,
me
he was.
wrong.
Yeah, he
But
was.
but but I would have been so much happier seeing McGann as the Eighth
That was
Doctor
an
in that.
excuse. That was
Yeah.
John. That was an excuse from him because he won't admit that he forgot that Doctor existed, right? Paul McGann, right? We only got one time to see him as the Doctor, as far as I'm concerned. Don't even talk to me about the big rubbish nonsense. Only one time we saw him as the Doctor, right? One time, right? Anything could have happened between then and Chris Eccleston. He could have been a changed man because of what happened, right? So these excuses they don't work with me, right? Seriously, they don't work with me. What
No.
is this nonsense?
Yeah.
What is this nonsense that the Doctor could change into a woman, fall out of the TARDIS, thousands of feet, smash right through a train, and then get
Yeah.
up like nothing's happened?
Yeah. Yeah.
So imagine again. I would say imagine they're at a table, right? Right, and they're going right. So what happens then? Oh, she falls out of the TARDIS, smashes into the train, and gets up. Well, wouldn't she be dead? Nah, it'll be all right.
I mean
And
that I know.
that's how we're creating it. It's
I mean
ridiculous.
that's where again
Ridiculous.
it just got to a level of stupidity that you just
Stupid
you know
beyond grief.
as we said before, it needs to grow up, and you said it needs to be taken seriously.
Yeah, of
And
course it does.
again, you can have comedy moments in Doctor Who. You've always had comedy elements in Doctor Who, but you don't have silly slapstick moments that they seem to put in all the time. I think the trouble you've got now is the fact that I was talking to you the other day, I think, and I said, if the Doctor was about to fall into a black hole, like a shooty Doctor, about to be
Mm,
sucked into a black hole, he wouldn't have fear and terror on his face.
no.
He would do some camp comedy quip. You know, that's the problem with it now. It's like, they diminish the stakes by putting a crud little joke in there somewhere. That's what they do. Um, I mean, as Thomas was saying here, I saw this the other day. Do you
Mm,
remember Ian in Tennant's first season? They had Peter Kay play the Absorber off.
yes.
The
Yes.
big green creature that absorb
Yeah.
people. The
Yeah.
the kid that created it on Blue Peter has got a YouTube channel, and
Mm,
even he is saying basically of how shit the writing RTD is doing currently. Um,
yeah.
and again, that was a kid that grew up with it and adored Doctor Who. It's it's that old saying again, you should never go back. And it's not just that. The BBC shouldn't have allowed him back. The BBC should
Well,
have forged forward,
what about
look
this
where we
one? What
are.
about this? What about this one? Okay, right. Oh, so Russell T. Oh, she's going to change then into another Doctor. Oh, yeah. Okay, so does he get hurt? No. Does he? Is he close to death? No.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens? Oh, he just walks to the edge, opens the door, and changes. What? Nah, be all right. All
Have
right, be fine.
have you seen that clip? Have you seen that clip that someone's created online where he does that, and Shooty fires out all those lightning beams for regeneration energy, but someone spliced it with Force Awakens, and you just see
Oh
all these
God.
planets destroyed.
Oh God.
I mean,
Seriously
again,
though.
but that's the nonsense as well of it, because it's like, so we're now talking about regeneration energy that can literally destroy an entire star system, you know. So again, when you're talking about some common sense and logic, if you have Time Lords, right, on Gallifrey, if that's gonna happen to every single Time Lord now, then their planet's gonna blow up every single time someone regenerates. That's where you get to when you start thinking about the nonsense that's being written.
Look, it made sense. Okay, right. So this is how it goes, right? When what you call it, Paul McGann sorry, Sylvester McCoy changed from Paul McGann. He was hot, he was dead, and then he changed into Paul McGann, right? And there was a little bit of lightning and stuff like that. Then when
Yeah.
Chris Eccleston changed to David Tennant, there was a reason why he blew up like that, because he sucked all that stuff from his TARDIS,
Yep.
right, and out of Billie. That's the reason why
Yep.
he blew up, right? And then
Yep.
when and then when David Tennant blew up was because he took all that energy, right, in the last episode when Wolfie saved Bernard
All the
Cribbins'
radiation.
character. All the radiation. That's why he blew up. And then when Matt Smith turned from him to Peter Capaldi, there was no explosion because he didn't have any of that crap in him. He just went
there
back.
was. There
Well,
was
yeah,
that
just
that that a bit. Well, literally, he
No,
blew
it
up
was
an
nothing
entire
there.
Dalek spaceship with Matt Smith did.
No.
Matt Smith's
When he
regeneration, the first part.
no,
Yes.
no,
Yep.
he didn't.
The regeneration started then
when he
because
changed
'cause
to Peter Capaldi,
in the TARDIS,
there was
but
nothing.
that
There
was
was
the final
nothing there.
phase of it. That was the final phase of it. The first part of it was he's an old man, he's dying, the Daleks are effectively invading, and then the crack opens and the Time Lords give him new regeneration energy. And then he
Right.
does the whole dancing around with a stick going, all the way from Gallifrey, boys, this is going to be a big one. And he fires it up and it destroys the Dalek ship above his head. Now that's the
Right.
start of the regeneration. Then he goes back to the TARDIS.
Wait.
Stop.
Stop. So if he changes, that means he would change there and then. But he didn't.
Yeah, but this is where it got silly, because he goes back to the TARDIS, right? And he basically he then goes from an old man. Yeah, exactly. He goes from an old man back to Matt Smith
Young
as we
man.
know him as the Doctor. And he's basically saying, effectively, I'm paraphrasing, but he says it started and he sees Clara there. And then he's like, oh, he's coming soon, the Doctor, and you get all of that bit.
Yep.
And then that's when it's rushed with Capaldi.
Yeah, but hold on.
Flash.
It makes sense though, doesn't it? The Time Lords gave him power, and he just used the power to blow up
because he's had a whole new regeneration cycle put into
him.
Because
so in other words, the Time Lords gave him that power, and then he pushed it out. Yes, so that makes sense, right? But then when he changes and he goes from him to Peter Capaldi, there was no explosion, didn't blow up the TARDIS or anything like that, right? So that makes sense. But then the next Doctor. It's just ridiculous. The whole thing doesn't make any sense. How could you sit in a writer's room and not have logic powering?
Do you know
this
what?
show?
Do you know what? Thinking back now, actually, I blame the TARDIS for everything that's happened, because when they gave him that new regeneration cycle of new lives, they clearly gave him the diversity, equity, and inclusion regeneration cycle. So that's why we've had Jodie and Shooty, after Capaldi, So I blame the Time Lords. They've caused all this mess.
How could somebody sit there and look at that TARDIS, the Jodie TARDIS, and not think that's ugly?
It looked like a dead spider upside down from the inside. It just
looked awful. Come on, one ugly TARDIS, isn't it? It's just ugly.
Yeah.
How can they not tell it's ugly?
The Capaldi,
I love that one.
TARDIS was the best they did. It's fantastic. It shows that you haven't got to be like the current one, the Shooty one, which I hate. You haven't got to be enormous like that. You can have a console like that that's quite personable to the Doctor, but then you know in your head there's various rooms off, similar to when Tom Baker was the Doctor. There's the boot cupboard he used to talk about. That's what you get from the TARDIS with Capaldi and Matt Smith's TARDIS interior. What I don't like now is they seem to think, the the current one, it's all white. And I've said this before. As soon as I saw it, I thought to myself, it actually looks like a prequel's Star Wars ship now, of how shiny it is, you know. And they never filled it. They just had a jukebox in it, you know.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
it. And it's like, well, there's nothing special about it. I think there are so many problems with what they've done over the last 2 years that I'm really gonna have to go away, and I'm gonna have to sort of note them down, and I'm gonna have to pick them apart at some point in more detail. But, again, there should be professionals, mate, who are doing what we're doing and going, "Hang on a minute." So, allegedly, there was $100 million put in by Disney, okay, and everyone says, "Oh, $100 million to make it." No, no, no. That's just the money that Disney have put in. How much did the BBC put into it? So,
Who cares? They wrecked
you
it.
know, they did. And again, from a business sense, if it was a business, they'd be like, right, I would say to you, mate, and see if you agree on this. If this was a Netflix series, would it be cancelled?
No,
You don't think
it
it would
wouldn't be.
be?
No, because Netflix is kind of into this agenda crap as well, aren't they? I think they're
Yeah,
trying to find a balance between it, though. Maybe they would have cancelled it. I'm not really sure, but they
because
seem
they've
to be
cancelled a few
commissioning a lot
things,
of
haven't
stuff.
they?
Yeah,
I
they
think
have.
it's when Netflix are quite cutthroat, where if something drops below a certain amount of views, they just chop it straight away, and they come out
Yeah.
of a statement within a couple of weeks saying that they've cancelled the show.
Mm,
Uh, you know, I think if it was not a license fee production, if it wasn't a BBC production, I
mm.
think that the show would already have been cancelled. Um, you know, and Christie's just said Hulu would take it. I mean, Hulu are part of Disney now, aren't they? So technically they've already had it.
But
Um,
but even if it does go below, I mean, look at Star Trek. That went below. The
yeah,
people weren't watching it, and they still made a season 3. So what is
yeah.
that stupid one with Captain Pike? Do you know what I
Oh,
mean? They'd
yeah,
singing Klingons and
Klingons.
stuff like that, and they still commissioned it. So it doesn't. The ratings doesn't seem to matter to these crazy people or the
No,
fans, right? And I always say this, right? When people say things like it's the fans' fault, or you're being a bit mean, or Ian, you keep saying it's shit and stuff like that, I will always rebuttal with this: they created this, we didn't.
yep,
They forced us to be this way, and we have every right to complain about
yep.
our IPs that is being destroyed, because that's not right. All they're doing is destroying. We just want our fun back. That's what we want. So screw
Yep,
them all.
they
That's what I'd
they
say.
they 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 took something that was a joy to so many people, and they twisted it into something that was unrecognizable. And then they expected people to be quiet about it, and then when people spoke about it, they insulted them online.
There
And
are some
this is all a consequence of everything that they've done, you know?
But you know, John, as well as I do, there are loads of Doctor Who fans that no matter what happens in Doctor Who, whether it's ludicrous things that I've pointed out, they will still be fans of Doctor Who. And
Yes.
there are other people that are fans of Doctor Who that is trans and whatever. And because Russell T is including things like having a go at white people and having a go at Trump and all the things that they don't like, they cheer it. But let me tell you something: these people do not watch the episodes. They couldn't care
And they
less
don't buy
about
the
them,
merchandise either.
and they don't buy the merchandise. So
Like,
the BBC needs to sit down and think about who their real audience is if they want to make money out of Doctor Who. BBC's
yep,
never understood Doctor Who, even classic Who. They still mucked around with that. They still didn't give them a decent budget. When Nathan Turner went out of his way to create something, to get all the previous doctors in one place. The
yep.
whole of that, what was that place again, John? I can't remember.
Death Zone.
Yeah, that where they held
Oh,
that first
Longleat, Longleat.
Longley. It was jammed. There were
Amazing.
thousands of people, thousands. You'd think that the BBC would realize what they've got on their hands. Instead of giving them more money, They just didn't give him any
Yeah.
money at all. Just gave the usual budget. How crazy is that?
I mean, that's amazing. And I've talked to Brendan on the Sense Sphere about that regularly because he went to it and he
Mm,
said that, he was crafty. They got in without having to buy a ticket for some reason.
mm,
They managed to sneak through,
yeah,
but it was so nuts that there were so many people. The tickets, they didn't expect
mm,
so many people to arrive, and it was just
yeah,
queuing up longly. And
yeah,
that was where it was just wonderful. And as a kid, that was my time as a kid where I was in my zone with Doctor Who. And
mm,
you know, it was a joy when it came back in 2005, and I thought, I'll be lucky if I got a season. Well, I went up to Capaldi, so I got lucky really on the run,
mm.
but everything has its time and everything has it comes to an end. And I think it's the same with everything really. Something can become great, and then you always end up having people that come along that ruin it. And that's
Yeah, it's
just
inevitable.
that's just inevitable and part of life, isn't it?
Mm,
And again, look, stays ace. They don't want people like me who have a wall full of merchandise and buys all the action figures and DVDs. Exactly, they'll insult you, but then they'll want you to buy the merchandise. And the merchandise now is pins. They're selling pins of you know Jinx Monsoon. They're not selling radio controlled Daleks like they did 20 years ago that were flying off the shelves and things like that. Everything
stop
has its
watching.
time.
Stop
Yeah,
watching.
yeah,
And don't
and
talk
I
about it either.
and I
Seriously,
think I
which is
think,
what we're doing.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
except us.
Except us, yeah. But I've
Yeah.
just, I mean, I've just pointed out loads of things that had no logical sense being in Doctor Who. As I mean, obviously, I've got my tongue firmly in my cheek, but think
It's
about
not
it
like you.
seriously. How can they sit there with a bunch of writers and nobody questions the logic about what they're writing? How?
Well, this,
How is that
well, this,
possible?
well, this is the problem, and I've said this on many, many shows now. The trouble you've got is that he only is bringing in yes men. He's only bringing in people that think the same way as he does. And you will know this as a creative. You have creative tension. People might not like what you've written and they'll push back and go, oh, maybe it'd be better with this, or maybe it'd be better than that. With that creative tension, you end up creating something good.
Yeah.
If everybody is agreeing straight away, it's not going
Mm.
to work. It's like when we've talked about before about, the Phantom Menace, Star Wars, where all the execs there were sat with George Lucas going, oh, this is brilliant, George, and then when he went out the room, they were like, I'm not sure that you know that lad's going to work as
Well, I'm
Anakin.
pretty.
And it's like, well, that's what you've got with Doctor Who now. It's like everybody agrees 100% of the time, and this is what you get.
Well,
You know,
well, I look right. I'm pretty sure that they're going to bring us more of the same if they bring back David Tennant and Billie Piper. It's going to be more of the same. It's going to be ridiculous. I mean, I just don't think they should do it personally. I think they should go
no,
back to formula, go back and do what Doctor Who does best. And again, right, the Doctor doesn't. He doesn't need to be a black person to have diversity. He doesn't need to be a woman to have diversity in Doctor Who. Doctor Who had diversity in it before all this nonsense starts, before all of this rubbish.
yeah,
So get back to formula, retcon the retcon, and then you'll get your fans back. It's not rocket science. If I was in charge, that's what I would do. But also, I'll be talking to the drinker and and Gary and saying, right, lads, we're going to get the word out there. And I swear I can get you 20 million watching an episode. Easy.
yeah, yeah.
Easy. It's not
You
rocket
know,
science. Easy. Yeah. So
you
there
know.
you
I, I still think Ian David Diaz would sell out within about 30 minutes of getting the job.
Definitely,
Everybody.
definitely, definitely. I'll be wearing a dress before you know it. Yeah.
Cal Blunden, could you see Doctor Who having a break for a few years down the line? I can see it. I mean,
Yeah.
my view has always been that I actually think Doctor Who needs a minimum of 5 and at max 10 years away, And the
Mm.
reason I say that is because there needs to be a purge of the people that are involved in the production, because they've not just got their fingers into the production of the TV show itself. It's the podcasts, it's the Doctor Who magazine, it's the audios, it's everything. They're involved with and connected with all of it. So that all needs to be purged, and it will take time. Then I would bring it back. I still maintain that you have to retcon the Jodie era onwards. You can't just ignore it. You have to basically say, look, you know, a clever writer could write something without you having to have a major, massive sci-fi scene. They could just write something to just get rid of that nonsense within 20 seconds. That's what needs to happen to get it back
Mm.
on track. They know what they need to do to get it back on track. It's been slapping them in the face for years, but they're just not prepared to do it. That's the trouble.
Maybe they
Because
know. Who knows?
they know, but it's just it doesn't fit with their ideology. So that's why
Mm.
they're not doing it. Um, you know, and
Russell
yeah,
T destroyed it.
yeah, it's like, do you do the Dallas approach? You know, and someone said ages ago, you know, I forget who it was, but they said, you know, Capaldi had an episode at Christmas
Crab,
where
crab.
you had the crab on the face, which was basically
Yeah.
making them think they're in the real world, and they weren't.
I wouldn't go
You could
down
do
that
that.
route though. I wouldn't go
Yeah,
if I was in charge. I wouldn't go down that route. Basically, I would. Yeah.
multiverse them.
No, no. I wouldn't multiverse it. I'll do something that the master did something to the doctor, whatever. But I have an
You made
idea.
him
But
wear a dress.
yeah. No, no, not did something to the doctor, but did something to the universe. So
Yeah,
that's what I would do. I would. The only good thing about the Jodie era was Bradley Walsh. That was the only good thing about that era.
yeah, it was.
Bradley Walsh was cool. He was
J-
cool.
well,
Yeah.
I was the same as you, mate. I mean, you know, I've told you before. I've told everybody before. I'm on record. I didn't agree with a female doctor because the doctor is asexual and he's a male Time Lord from the planet Gallifrey. I will not change my stance on that. And when Jodie Whittaker was cast, I wasn't in favour of it at all. I wasn't happy, but yet
Mm.
I thought, right, okay, I'll have a look at some episodes. I got 3 episodes in and I was like, no, I can't carry on with this anymore. And then I came back to see, I'd heard all the rumors about the Timeless Children. And I thought, right, I'll have a look because surely they wouldn't do that. They did it. Then I was out, and then it was announced Russell T Davies was coming back. Tennant was coming back. And I thought, right, sign a goodwill. Maybe they'll get it back on track now. So my goodwill was there for them to do something with it. And what did we get? We got the Star Beast straight away with the doctor
Pronouns.
being criticized about, you know, male presenting Time
Pronouns.
Lord and then asking an alien their pronouns. And it was just complete nonsense. And again, I was out.
And
And I
having
did,
a grown man
yeah,
dressed as a teenage girl.
yeah,
What's that all
yeah,
about? Don't know.
exactly. And I came back, I did season 1 of Shooty for review purposes only, and that's where I am now. But the difference was I didn't watch season 2 of Shooty. I couldn't put myself through that again.
If you guys remember, the only person that was right 100% on Type 40 was Simon. Simon was
Yeah,
against RTD coming back to the Doctor Who for the
yep,
reasons that he gave, which is the reasons that we're giving right now. He
yeah,
shouldn't come back.
exactly,
So yeah,
exactly.
so God bless him. So there you
Yeah,
go.
and I think I mean that's essentially it for tonight, everybody. Let
Thank
us
God.
know, or let us yeah, let us know in the comments what you think about this latest Mirror and Sun articles with the rumors about potentially Tennant coming back, and him and Billie Piper are going to do a Christmas special.
Don't
Um,
care.
yeah, Ian, he says that, but he'll be there.
I'm
Just
out. No, I'm out. I'm out.
he's got a Shooty t-shirt in the background, so don't worry,
Good luck,
everybody.
everybody. No, I'm not coming
um,
back until they retcon the retcon. Sorry, not coming back.
and just to let everybody know, obviously on Sci-Fi Chronicles, we've got movie and Doctor Who reviews on the channel. going back to 1963 of Doctor Who. We're working our way through it. We've got some Indiana Jones reviews on there that me and Ian did, which were great fun. And then Sunday nights, there's one on tomorrow. We've got our Stargate SG1 season 1 watch along, and it's going to be an absolute blast because we're doing the final 3 episodes of season 1. So that's going to be at 12:30 PST for the USA, and it'll be at 8:30 UK time. But until then, thanks everybody for joining us, and we will see you. I'll hopefully see a lot of you tomorrow night. Take care of yourselves. Take care.